Thank you for joining. So we are, I think it is our 18th session, right, Dhanik? 18th session of our integration architecture journey, and we have covered many more things. We have covered REST API, SOAP API, bulk API. We have covered the integration patterns, integrations, design concepts. Then there are multiple advanced topics like CTI. Like as an architect, if you would like to design of a multiple system, then how would be you drawing, how would be you documenting the use case for would be you configure or how would be you document the diagrams through the diagram. Basically, how can you present in front of the client? So everything, mostly we have covered multiple things, and as part of our last 18 session. So today is just the extension of the same integration architecture journey, and the topic is Salesforce Connect or Lightning Connect. Now, before going into any slide, what I would like to do, I would like to just give you a scenario. The scenario is that suppose now there is many multiple, I mean, in our country almost we have a huge population, and now we are planning to provide a vaccine for COVID, and whether it would be available from January onwards or February onwards. So government wants to just think a scenario that how we will identify the people. Okay, now let's assume that we do have one website. Okay, the website basically is containing all the data of Indian resident, right? So this is one website, and which is containing all the data of our Indian resident. And the second thing is that we do have details of COVID vaccine website. Now, what we want to integrate this particular two websites so that we can track that which particular patient from this website is getting the vaccine, and if he is getting the vaccine, just we need to mark as yes. Simple, right? So now, if this particular application has been built, let's assume that in Salesforce, using cloud, a particular vendor has designed and developed vaccine website. Let's assume that this is called a vaccine website. Okay. Now, in this vaccine website, then it needs to be integrated with this Indian residents website, because this website doesn't have any data about the Indian residents. It does have all the data about the COVID vaccine, that which particular vaccine and what is the strength, what is whether it is a viable or it is an injection. Okay, so all these details are available into this vaccine website. Now, once this vaccine website needs to be integrated with the main Indian resident website, then how do that particular thing can happen, right? So these things can happen in multiple ways. These things can happen with the help of your SOAP API. So I can ask this Indian resident website, hey, give us a WSDL. That WSDL, this vaccine website will be consuming, and with the help of that WSDL, this vaccine website will send a SOAP request, and the SOAP request would returning the values of the resident. With the help of that resident, we can mark it as yes. This is number one solution. Number two solution, we can do the same operation using REST API as well, right? So if we consider the REST API, then it would be much more faster, because it would be handling all the JSON format data, and it will have all the HTTP just get. We will just do a get operation. With the get operation, we will just hit their website, and we will be returned with the data from this particular website. This is another solution. Number three solution is that we can tell this particular website that, hey, whatever the data you have, just load into our system. Okay, we do not want to configure any web, API and all those stuff. We just want to live inside our website. We do not want to configure any API. So for that, we want your data. We want your data, and that data basically you please do a replica, do a copy and load into our system. Sorry guys. So the solution is that what if I need to copy all the data from this particular Indian resident website and we need to put into the vaccine website. Every day, night, there must be some job, some ETL job needs to run, right? Extract, transform, and then load the data into this vaccine website. After that, what I can do, just I can take that what particular resident he is, and based upon that I can mark, okay, this particular vaccine just has been given to this particular resident. We can map that, right? So these are the ways of our integration. Now, do you really think that any of these is that much of smart solution? Not really, right? But we generally use this solution because we are familiar. We are familiar with REST, we are familiar with SOAP, and we are familiar with ETL. If you consider nowadays in the integration world, SOAP, REST, and your ETL is very well formed and very much popular and known keywords, right? Now, what Salesforce is telling that Salesforce is giving you some other solution. What are the other solution? The other solution is that you take the data of the website of which are residing outside of your Salesforce and bring them real time using or by creating an external object. Okay, so we do have currently, or we are familiar with Salesforce standard object, okay, which we must be knowing about all the standard object in Salesforce, like account, contact, opportunity, lead, everything, right? Then we do have custom object, which we are just creating for our purpose, for our business logic, for our business scenarios to accomplish, and we generally give it is underscore C, right? Not we give, Salesforce gives automatically. And this is a third type of table. This is a third type of object, which is called an external object. And this external object, how do you identify? Underscore X. Simple, right? Now, this particular object, how it will be generated? To generate this external object into Salesforce system, we may need a couple of things. One thing is that first we need to identify that what is the external application or system Salesforce is trying to connect. Okay, that particular application, let's assume this is an Indian resident website application. Now this Indian resident website application, let's assume that it is built upon Java or it is built upon .NET, right? Now the thing is that does it support? The first question should be from when we have been asked that, hey, can you create some Salesforce Connect? Can you configure some Lightning Connect so that you can extract the Indian resident website data into your vaccination website, which is built upon your Salesforce? Okay, if I get this requirement, my first question would be, okay, so your application has been built upon Java, .NET, right? So does it support the OData protocol? The OData is an open standard data adapter. So OData, like we do have open authentication, OAuth. whoever currently works into Salesforce and whoever is working into integration, they must be knowing that what does OAuth do, right? OAuth is basically the open standard authentication, which is very much generic and which is supported by multiple application, multiple technologies. Similarly, OData is nothing but a kind of protocol. That particular protocol basically is supported by many technologies, by many companies. So if this particular application or this particular company will tell us, yes, we support OData, that time what Salesforce can do, Salesforce can use this OData adapter, and with that OData adapter, Salesforce will connect their resident system or third party system, right? Now, this is one approach. Now, the second approach can be the resident website is a very much legacy application. It has been built, let's assume, in the age of 2009. So that time the technology was not that smart enough. So they do not support OData. Then what would be our approach? But we have to do this particular real-time application. We want to fetch the data on real-time basis. When I'm saying it is a real time means, let's assume that in my Indian website some data got changed. Okay, so some data got changed in the sense some data, phone number or their Aadhaar number, okay, got changed. Now when this particular data will be changed, my vaccination website should be smart enough to capture that changed information, right? So in that case, the integration should be a real time. So the second connect basically cannot be dependent on OData because it is built upon 2009. It is a legacy application. What shall we do? We can create from Salesforce technology itself a Apex connector. Okay, so the Apex connector would be your completely customized Apex code, which would be structuring a complete data structure, a complete table structure inside your Salesforce org. Okay, so this is one way. Now the third scenario is that suppose this website is very much recent website and this is also basically built upon Salesforce. So my source system is built upon Salesforce, which is a vaccination, and my target system, this is also built on Salesforce, which is an in-resident site. Now, in that case, what Salesforce Connect will use? Cross-org connector. Okay. So these are the multiple ways to connect the data outside of Salesforce, the access of data outside of Salesforce in real time. Now, another option can be always middleware. Okay, so if you have any middleware, always you do not have to dependent on any other thing, just you need to see that whether your resident website is compatible with this middleware or not, and the Salesforce is compatible with this middleware or not, and just set up this particular middleware, connect between your resident website and middleware, and connect between your Salesforce vaccination website and your middleware, and the data will flow. Now, the real time, the external object is the data structure which should be created if you use any one of this. Now, I will show you all this example one by one. among those particular things, so OData adapter, if this particular source website tells that they support OData, they need to give you a particular URL. That URL should contain their schema details. Let's assume that I do have this particular schema. So this is a OData supported schema, guys. Now, this OData supported schema I should be receiving from the target org. The target org will provide me this particular URL of OData, and I would be consuming this particular services. Once Salesforce system or my source org will consume this particular services, automatically all this schema will be converted into a external object and their corresponding field. Okay, let's go one by one. So first thing is that let's go. So whenever somebody will tell just to configure the external data source, the first approach you would be going to external data source. Under setup, you do have external data source. Now there are some license limitations to use this external data source. You cannot create basically more than one Salesforce Connect or external data source using your Salesforce Connect OData 2.0 or OData 4.0 in the developer edition. Okay, so here what we did, what we need to do, you just go to new external data source, give any name of the external data source. Let me try that. If I'll copy this external data source and I can create one more external data source so that you can understand. So let's assume that test. Then what are the details? First thing is that Salesforce Connect OData 2.0. That's what I was talking about. So OData 2.0, you have to ask the other system that whether they are supporting this or not. If they are supporting, just give us the schema like this, and then if they provide us the schema, all you need to do, you need to select this 2.0 or you need to select 4.0. But see, here it says that maximum number of external data source of the type your organization has exceeded. That means I have already created, it won't allow you. Okay, so similarly Salesforce 4.0 is the upper version of 2.0. Okay, and then Salesforce Connect cross org. These are the things basically you need to select. Now once you configure Salesforce Connect 0.0 2.0, you need to provide the URL over here. So I would be providing this particular URL into this particular URL section. Once I do that, then I need to provide that what would be the connection timeout parameter. It would be maximum 120. Okay, but you can minimize the value and you can set it up over there. After that, now what about the format? The format can be JSON, format can be atom pub. Currently we will all aware about JSON, so generally we always deal with JSON and we selected JSON. Once we do that, then if the other system, that means this particular system does have any certificate, okay, similar way you need to install the corresponding certificate and you need to go to certificate inside our Salesforce and create and select that particular certificate over here. Once you do that, you need to give identity type. Now this would be very much important. This identity type will say that how you authenticate with the other system. It can be per user basis. That means each and every time the user needs to be logged in into their system to access their data. Okay, but if you give per user, then what will happen? Second, what will happen here, you have to select that what authentication, you would be using OAuth 2.0. If that is the thing, you have to give authentication provider. From where you would be getting authentication provider? Here, if you select auth provider, you would be getting authentication provider details. See, auth provider details. You can configure the auth provider details over here, and then you can submit that. Similarly, if you give password authentication, you have to give the administration username and password. So this is the ways, these are the main parameters where you need to configure an external data source. Now, if you do not use that, suppose I would be using the Salesforce Connect cross org, right? There is completely different mechanism if I want to configure the cross org things. Now, in this scenario, once I configure, I just save it successfully. What it will do, it will just create like this billing service, and this will be the URL. And once I do that, I can navigate. Once I navigate that, there is a button called validate and sync. So what does validate and sync means? Validate and sync means it would be going to this schema, and from this schema it would be validating, and then it would be creating the external object. So once you do the validate and sync, your external object would be generated. So you can see the external object got generated, invoices underscore underscore X. Now this object has multiple limitation, but this object is a straight away another type of object inside Salesforce, which can be used using Socle, which can be used in our process builder, in our flows, everywhere. But if you would like to create one formula field, okay, can you do that? Just try to create a formula field inside this particular external object, right? Can you see the formula field over here? No, right? So there are some limitations. There are some limitations. There are some limitations for external objects, but I do not think that, I mean, that would be restricting to achieve some of the scenarios. Now, there are two things which I wanted you to highlight. One is your external lookup relationship. External lookup relationship means I have this invoice table from my external system. Let's assume the external system is having another table called with the invoice. Let's assume order. Okay, so the order is not here. How can I get their order details? I can create an external lookup, because order details is residing in external system, invoice is residing in external system. Now, second example, suppose I do have some of my order. Now I want to map my Salesforce order with these invoices. How can I do that? I need to create indirect lookup relationship. So while doing the integration or mapping with the Salesforce and the external system, I will be using indirect lookup. And while doing the complete relationship between the external objects, I would be doing external lookup relationship. These are the two important things. Apart from that, you can do everything into the external objects. You can create a layout, you can create a lightning record page, you can create a compact layout, you can create a search layout, everything, whatever Salesforce provides you the feature. Okay. One more thing, so among these fields, whatever it would be generated by consuming, there are two things. One is external ID and one is your display URL. These are the standard field, guys. These are the standard field. Anytime you use OData, you use cross-org adapter, you use anything to create an external object, this data or this field will be automatically created. Rest all basically it be your customized. Rest all you can create, you cannot create as per your requirement. So this is one way, okay, how we can configure the external object or fetch the data from an external system using OData adapter. Okay. Now, the second scenario is something like that I told that I do not have the OData compatibility. My system is very much old, old legacy system. Okay. What shall I do in that case? Okay, now in that case what will happen, in that case basically your task would be increased. What you have to do in that case, you need to go to external object, external data source, and inside the external data source you can see one particular thing which I have done. This is external healthcare, and see here what is there. Salesforce Connect, custom external data source provider. Okay, what is this? So if I go to external data source and using external data source, if I try this type, see here, I can see another option, Salesforce Connect custom external data source provider. I was not able to see this particular option when I was using my this org. Currently, I am using two org. One is my this Sayanta ACS dev ed lightningforce.com, and this is my another org AP15. Okay, so in AP15 you can see this particular option is coming, external data source provider. However, in this org it doesn't come, right? So why? Because this particular org doesn't have any Apex connector. Remember, I told you about this Apex connector, right? So if you see here, I have told that we can create from Salesforce an Apex connector, and Apex connector is nothing but an Apex class. Now, if you go to this Apex class, I do not have any type of Apex class connector. Okay, and that is the reason when I am going into external data source and I am trying to new external data source into my Science ACS dev org, I'm not able to find this Salesforce Connect, that particular class. However, I can able to see this external data source provider over here. Now, the second question should be how, right? Go to developer console. We have created this Apex class to configure this. First thing is that, see, this external data source provider, you need to create a particular provider class. So that provider class basically would be having some inbuilt method. That one is your gate authentication capabilities. Now inside the gate authentication capability, we are just doing an anonymous. We are not bothered about any type of secured integration over here or by providing any username or password over here. Then what I am doing, I am defining a data source. Okay, once I am defining a data source inside a provider class, that particular data source I am passing using this particular method, right? The external IDs healthcare. Now the external ID underscore healthcare, what is this? This is nothing but all the structure which I want the data. Here, if you see, everything is there. What are the field name? These are all the field name, guys. Here, everything you have to do manually. This system, you have to take care everything. You have to define the target URL. You have to define the all field names. Content is a field name, lang is a field name, URL is a field name. All things you have to define over here, and as a table structure. Okay, so in the data source basically we are not doing anything rather than creating a complete table. And in that table, we are giving that how many, what would be the length of that particular data type, and all the necessary things which we need to create a field extra, I mean field in UI, right? So while we create a field in UI, we used to give all the details, what is the data type, what is the length. Similarly, all things are all same, just you have to create this particular class. Once you create this particular class, this data source, right, this particular data source connection, this is the key. This is the key for the identification of this particular parameter. It will automatically come over here. Once that comes, you just select that. Okay, let's assume I got it, though it will not allow me because of this particular license issue, but for time being you can see. And the same, this particular identity type will be coming, and here the no authentication would be coming because I have given all the details like that way. I have given that anonymous, I have given that no authentication. Okay, so everything whatever we configure, we will receive it over here. Once we do that, then the same mechanism, we will go to external services, and we'll go to external data source, and once it has been done, then we would be doing validate and sync. Once the validate and sync will be done, it will create automatically the table. The table name is healthcare blog underscore underscore X. Let's see where is our healthcare blog. Okay, so external data source, control F, healthcare blog. See here, healthcare blog is coming over here for you. Now this is the table name. Okay, then you do have this particular field and relationship, and see here this particular external ID, the standard ID, but this Apex class is not smart enough to create automatically the standard field for you. So for standard field, for custom field, any field, you have to define it over here. So just search for this except. Okay, just search it over here, and you will be finding everything over here. Whatever I would be defining, I would be creating over here. Similarly, the structure would be created in this fashion. Once I would be creating this particular structure, then the same way, so my external object has been created, my external data now all accessible using this particular link, okay, using this particular JSON, and I'm using, or I am accessing the healthcare.gov data. And once I have completed that, what I can do, I can create all the things whatever is applicable for Salesforce standard and custom object, except certain things, except the formula field, except some limitations, right? Now what happened, what I did, I have created one tab. Okay, so if you go to healthcare blog, see, this is nothing but a tab. This tab has been based upon this particular object, and when I do this all, what it shows, it is showing all the data from the external system, guys. This all data are coming from external system. These are nothing from Salesforce. It is just taking, replicating all the details from the external system and showing in front of you. Now, if you want to go to the external system data, simply click on the display URL. Okay, see here the other display URL. You just navigated into their website, and just you are able to see the data, right? The external ID, it is completely basically their record ID. Okay, now what is the title? This all data coming from the external system. Now, if you do not want to see all this particular data, what you do, just you just add the filter, and you just do what the data basically you want to see. The same way how Salesforce works, right? Now if you just try to create a new list view, okay, just give that particular details and create a list view. Nothing I mean new in this. So everything, every data basically is coming over here. Now what I want to make a relationship between this data data and my account object. How can I do that? As I said, if you go to setup, then if you go to object manager, here what we have, we do have healthcare table, right? So I need to go to healthcare table and sorry, I forgot that particular name. Let me go back to setup and go back to external services, and in the external objects, sorry, in external objects, basically I can navigate, and while navigate it, I would be just navigating into external objects. So external objects, basically I can create a relationship, I can create a indirect lookup so that my relationship can be established, and I can go to my account page. If I am able to maintain the relationship, after that I can go to any account, and there I can see the healthcare details corresponding to a particular account. So this is an use case. Now the third thing is that basically your target system is built upon Salesforce, okay, and your source system, which is a vaccination website or vaccination application, that is also built upon Salesforce. How do you do? Your life would become very much easier in that case. You do not have to worry about the OData limitation, and then your all the things about Apex class and creating or configuring the external object. In this case, straight away, you need to identify one org as a target org and one org as your source org. So let's assume that this is my source org. Okay, and in this source org, let's assume that I have this many opportunities. Okay, and what I want to connect this particular source org with the source org is ap15.lightning.force.com, and my target org is this one, sign the ACS dev ed lightningforce.com. So now the source system is built upon Salesforce. The target system is also built upon Salesforce. What I need to do? I need to go to external data source, and here while selecting, I would be selecting the type as cross org, Salesforce Connect cross org. While I select Salesforce Connect cross org, what it does, it will give you a authentication provider. Always remember, this is my target org, this target org, or this is my destination org. If you want to configure a Salesforce cross org connector, you have to provide a authentication provider into the target org itself. How can I configure? Go to auth provider into the target system here, and you configure this. Let's assume I have configured my auth provider. What I have given only the name, okay, and I have given just a name as URL suffix, anything, any name you can give, ABCD, anything. I have given as my destination org. First thing. Second thing is that what I need to give the authorization endpoint URL. I need to provide whatever. If you are using a sandbox, you need to provide the sandbox URL. If you are working with your devs and the dev box or a production, you just need to provide login.salesforce.com. Once you do that, make some entry into the consumer key and secret. Okay, make some entry. Okay, just because still you are not aware about this consumer key and secret. You do not have this because you do not know that which particular system I should be connecting with. Unless somebody gives you this consumer key and secret, you won't be having any details, right? So I need to get this particular details from somewhere. I do not have that still. What I will do, I will just stamp some value ABCD and I'll stamp some value DEFG and I'll save that. Once I'll save that, I will get this callback URL. Why I am doing that? I am doing that because as this is a Salesforce to Salesforce connection, and as we are just working as a structure where we are targeting to hit one particular Salesforce system as a destination org and one Salesforce org as a source org, there should be some mechanism, right? The mechanism is that first I created this auth provider. While I created the auth provider, I still do not have any consumer key, consumer secret, but I just want to have the callback URL. So I saved it. I got my callback URL. After receiving my callback URL, what I did, I just went over here, and here, if I just went to my connected app section, okay, so if I go to connected app section, basically, so if you go to the connected app over here, and in this connected app section, I just created my connected app as source org. So in this source org, I am creating my connected app, and that time I have given the callback URL, whatever I saved it over here and pasted it over here. After I saved it, I received this consumer key and consumer secret, right? And I have given full access and a refresh token. Okay, so everything which is required for connected app for a source and destination integration I have given, and then I got my consumer key and consumer secret. Once I received that, what I did, I just took this and I have pasted over here the same consumer key and consumer secret, and then I saved it. This way my source org is now connected with the target org, okay, and my auth provider is containing all the details. Once my auth provider is all configured, what I will do, I will go to external data source. Inside external data source, I would be selecting this particular DEST org, right? So this is my auth provider, and I would be giving full refresh token so that there should not be any changes or there should not be any problem while an authentications timeout happens, right? And you can see authenticated as sannata@gmail.com. How this is coming? This is the login username of my this particular org. So once I am able to successfully configure this, it is identifying this particular target org details. Once that happen, I'll do a validate sync. Once you do validate sync, every object of my target org, that means this org, would be coming and would be showing to you, hey, I have all this object from this particular org, which data you want. What I did, I just selected account and opportunity. Now opportunity I just renamed as _ext, because so that I can identify that this opportunity ext is coming from this particular org, because this org also have an opportunity object, right? So it should not mix up. That is the reason I have given this opportunity _ext. Now once this opportunity _ext has been created, it is taking all the fields from this org and created. Once that is done, what I created a tab, and in this tab here you can see opportunity ext is there. This tab What it is denoting? It is denoting basically all the opportunities from this particular org, this particular org, not this particular org. So all the opportunities here, where is that? More opportunity ext, and you can see here there's opportunity ext. Let's do all, and we can see all the opportunities from this org. Now let's assume I am creating an opportunity like amount as $44 and SFTX. I have created an opportunity and stage as qualification. Once I did that, I saved it. Okay, let's give him this close date and let him save. Once I saved it, my SFDX opportunity got created. Now your question should be, hey, this particular SFDX is into your target org, so will it flow into your source org? Obviously, because I do have the connection, right? I do have the connection between the source and target. So anything, any changes happen into target, you should be able to see the source org as well, right? So if you just try with SFDX, give me a second, opportunity X, and all. Where is that data? So I have created SFDX, right? So SFDX, SFDX opportunity, and coming over here. So coming over here and searching SFDX. See, opportunity X, SFDX came, right? So whatever I would be doing, I would be receiving over here. Now your question should be, hey, I can query, right? But how much I can query? What are the governor limits associated with that? The same Salesforce governor limit, guys. Salesforce won't leave you if you do not maintain their limit. The same governor limits will be applicable while you do this particular object query. The same limitation you would be maintaining when you would be using this particular object inside your apex, inside your trigger, everywhere, inside your flow, inside your process builder, right? All the rules should be maintaining the same way. And apart from that, if you are using the external object using OData, right? So we have very beginning, we have talked about the OData details. So OData also has some limitation. So that particular, when you would be creating external object using the OData adapter, that time basically your OData limitations or OData adapters, certain limitation would comes into the picture, and you need to maintain those as well. Okay, so these are the most useful Salesforce connection configurate. I would say, configuration or configurable parameters, which which we are using, extensively nowadays in our recent projects. And that's all about my session. I hope you people are clear, and you can ask me in case any doubt. So I have prepared this PPT where I didn't went much. Everything I think I have defined like this way. The same thing, whatever I have described, all are here in these PPTs. Okay. So all the external object, what external object can do, what are the characteristics, what are the Salesforce Connect adapters are where cross org, OData 2.0, OData 4.0, custom adapter, all these epics. Then the licenses, and then the identity type. I have already shown the identity type, the name, principal, and per user. Okay. So after that, the external object, that the following features aren't available for external objects. You can just get all the details from help.salesforce.com as well, and from Google as well, always. So what are the external objects details? Just you can query, and some of the query syntax and the details I have provided over here. So this is the deck which I have prepared, though I haven't used much today. So that's all, guys. I mean, that's the end of my session. In case you have any question, any clarification, you can ask, or else we can wrap it up.